Welcome back to the Gavel. The Senate, before it went on recess, set up an ad hoc committee to create a legislative agenda for the 8th Senate. Now, this is expected to give focus to lawmakers in the next 4 years. But the Senate President has already disclosed that the 8th Senate would give attention to revenue generation. Now, this was the major agenda at a meeting between the Senate and officials of the Federal Inland Revenue in the National Assembly. This is the first meeting between federal lawmakers in the 8th Assembly and officials of the Federal Inland Revenue. The meeting, called at the instance of the Senate President, is to examine strategies to improve tax collection in the country. With a drop in revenue as a result of dwindling oil price in the international market, Nigeria has to urgently find ways of generating revenue to fund the national budget. The acting chairman of the FIRS, Mr. Samuel Ogumbeso, told lawmakers how much the agency has collected in taxes this year and the challenges confronting the agency.
The annual target is 1.4 trillion. Expected monthly, it's 123.74. And so the trend of collection has shown that 147, 150 was what we did for January, February. March, it went down to 93. And it was worse. This is the worst performance from oil industry in the last 15 years. 50 billion was what we collected. There were 3 major oil companies that actually had nothing to report because of the huge increase in cost of production. We have oil, but most of the foreign countries are even not picking our oils anymore because they have developed shale oil, and so they will be asking themselves, what will they still need to do with the oil from here? But that's understood. You know, even if you call NNPC, they will give you more information about this trend of performance there. But the only value I thought we could now make is by saying to these oil companies, even though you're reporting losses as a result of the high cost of production, can we not have an arrangement whereby every month you will be making contribution to government at least?
He also explained strategies on ground to generate revenue, one of which is tax from luxury items.
We also look at those who own private jets and thought that, yeah, you're enjoying facility or assets which most Nigerians do not have privilege to enjoy. We will levy something we'll call surcharge on you. And of course, custom also was to do some other like furniture surcharge, mansion surcharge, various kind of surcharges. But regrettably, we've not been able to administer this. One, we have challenges. We raised assessment on about 130 private jet owners because we were made to understand that we have up to that number. We raised assessment on them. One particular company, we raised about 100 million naira on them and said, you have to pay. Because when I came on board, I called all of them. I said, look, it's engagement that will deliver this for us. You all need to be part of development of this country. The company said, you're levying me 100 million naira because I use a private jet. Have I killed anyone? We know they haven't killed anyone, but we want them to contribute.
The Senate President says the National Assembly would give the FIRS the support it needs to perform its role efficiently. But he is, however, skeptical about luxury tax.
This is an agency that we want to work very closely with, and we are going to be very stringent on oversight. Because honestly, if we do not get it right in the area of taxation, I do not believe that we are going to get it right going forward. If you look at all the challenges before us, we've been through this, as you say, cycling up and down. When the oil price is good, we run. When the oil price comes down, I think for us to stabilize the country that we can plan, we must, our non-oil revenue has to be stable enough to be able to address those issues. And I think that's the area that we need to work. I was hoping that in your report, you'll be able to talk about maybe there are some laws that we need to look to assist you in trying to make it more efficient. As you talked about the issue of VAT, there are major issues there. A lot of the states where major VAT is being collected have an issue that there's no incentive in places where I'm collecting as a state And at the end of the day, we're sharing. But these are the issues that we must come to the table and sit down with the states and find out a way. And I think that at the Senate here, this is where we can look into that. For some of these, I'm happy you talk about some of these surcharges. You know, those surcharges are not they're just sensational issues. They're not sincere, and we should stop deceiving Nigerians. That is not the issue. The issue to us today: how can we expand the net? How can we ensure that everybody is paying taxes? Not saying you are charging things that will just make headlines.
The Senate President says the drive to improve revenue generation in Nigeria will depend largely on ramping up other sources of revenue outside oil and gas. Therefore, the Senate is going to be stringent on its oversight of the federal inland revenue. Let's take a look at some other activities in the Senate during the week. Senate President Bukola Saraki during the week solicited the cooperation of the French government to tackle the security problems in the northeastern part of Nigeria. He made the appeal when the French ambassador to Nigeria, Jacques Labroy, paid him a visit in the National Assembly. The Senate President said Nigeria needs the support of France to train Nigeria's military personnel and also long and medium-term support in tackling Boko Haram. Senator Saraki also assured the French ambassador that the crisis rocking the National Assembly over the election of the principal officers in both chambers would soon be resolved and would not be allowed to affect the relationship between the legislature and the executive.
The sacrifices that Nigerians have made in the last election also means that we must make sure we don't lose this opportunity. And on our own part, we are committed. Yes, you must have observed some of the events of the last few days. Sometimes, as you all know, I'm sure when we go through elections, these sort of things do tend to happen. But gradually, as you can see, we're settling down, and that will very be a thing of the past. I don't think in any way, I can assure you, will affect the collaboration or cooperation between the National Assembly and the executive. Issues that will come before us will be treated with dispatch and the alacrity that is required, because Nigerians don't want to bottleneck in administrative issues now. People want to see things being done, and we are a responsible arm of government, and we'll do that to ensure that whatever is in the interest of government. The major issues will mirror on what are the priorities of government, and clearly one is the issue of security, particularly the issue of the threat of the Boko Haram in the northeast part of the country. And we're all pleased to see some of the achievements in the last few months. As you rightly said, it's now for us to finish the job, and we've been able to push that back, but we need to be able to dismantle the structure itself and do more. And also, how do you rebuild the area, the internally displaced people, and we need to provide social and economic development in those areas.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Senate President, Ike Ekweremadu, has asked the All Progressives Congress APC to set aside bickering and focus on how to improve the general welfare and standard of living of Nigerians. Senator Ekweremadu, who stated this while a coalition of election observers paid him a courtesy visit in the National Assembly, implored the APC-led government to form policies and programs that would benefit majority of Nigerians irrespective of political affiliation. He said the 8th National Assembly is about to put together a legislative agenda for the 8th Senate, which will include further amending the Electoral Act to make the 2019 election more credible and acceptable than that of the 2015 general election.
We have a president, who is committed to eradicating corruption, to fight poverty, to deal with terrorism. And we in the National Assembly, we are prepared to support him in this respect. As I said from the beginning, we are finished with politics. What is remaining now is governance. And this country belongs to all of us. And the same people, the constituents, the people of Nigeria, the ordinary people of Nigeria, are not interested whether you're APC or PDP. What they want is good governance. And we must unite as a people to give Nigeria good governance. The issue of bickering and differences does not have any place in the minds of our people.